Hello, I'm James, and tonight's game is Mask of the Rose. Let's continue. I reach for another memory out of that jumbled grab bag. Before the fall, Horatia and Greece were less comfortable together. Where do I submit my orders for supper? Which orders would those be, love? Concerning what I would like to eat, so that the housekeeper can prepare it. This isn't Claridge's, child. If you care to dine in, you'll have the same meal as the rest of the lodgers. And it'll be what I fancy cooking that day. Oh, in that case, I'm content to leave the matter in your hands. My mother always did say that it wasn't ladylike to leave the poor housekeeper with the responsibility of choosing a menu. So I thought, but I imagine, on reflection, that's for when one has guests. Okay, then outside. Or no, let's see about tightening up our theory. Or inside job. The method of David Lando's murder remains obscure, but I don't believe for a minute that it was through the stomach drugs. Milton explained that murder in the Neath need not be a permanent affair. It might in fact be a suitable white punishment. Phoebe somehow got the poison, whatever it was, to David, and it's not clear how. I'm missing something about the method. There must be someone who can tell me more about how poisoning is done. The jacket and the wig suggests I just got out of prison, and I'm at some risk of being recaptured. Okay, so apparently the fork is bad to have for visiting the Hulk. Ah, you're taking a risk coming here without our Jeet. If you don't watch out, they'll pack you up in the ungulate beside me. And then where will we be? Recount the newspaper story. The new Anglican Synod is being disbanded. There has been another attempt to contact the Archbishop of Canterbury, wherever he might be. Oh? Several of its members were suspected of being secretly devils or in the employ thereof. This is no hell, but all the devils are here, eh? He pronounces himself glad to hear anything of the outside world in any case. Suppose David's killer was there at the same time you were, but they used something other than the drug to do it. Was there anything else that would have taken, do you suppose? There's arsenic in cloth sometimes. Wallpaper, though I've never heard of anyone but small children being taken sick by that. Or it might be in candles. There's a fair mite of ingenious ways you might go about it. Horatia's not been to visit. You did not know why? I'd hate to think she believes him guilty. I'm sure that's not the reason. It's not what I've thought she'd do. She's always said a great deal about us all being like family to her, or that family don't pay rent. Archie considers whether there is anything to add. This as often as you have a mind to. There's no much entertainment within. Poison candle. Okay, let's see if that does anything. How by candle? Suppose our cynical candles made the air itself poisonous to David Landau. Milton explained that murder in the Neath need not be a permanent affair, might in fact be a suitable light punishment. Phoebe somehow got the arsenical candles to David. It's not clear how. Question is how Phoebe managed to get the candles into David's room. Either that or the tainted drug that she would have swapped. Okay, let's see if we can get the candle option. Let's change. Doctor, it's good to see you. I cannot resist fungally daring fashion. You look dazzling today. Ivy makes a few flattering remarks on my better points. Ivy steps back a little to make sure I have a good view of the wares in her stall. When you were at the townhouse, did you see anyone take candles into David's room? I don't remember if I saw her do it, but it would have been Phoebe's task. Though, come to speak of it, I did see Milton on the day of the murder, carving some markings in the base of a candle. Just standing there in the parlour, shaping the wax with the end of a pen. He didn't notice me standing there. The sight of it made my hair stand up, so I backed out of the room again. Just making marks in candle wax. Nothing to do with Archie's medicine, but a strange pastime in a stranger's parlour. The devil Milton was at the Landau's house when you were there, wasn't he? Did he have a reason to do this? He had a taste for Rachel's company, and David Landau didn't care for it. I don't know whether that was reason enough for him. Would have been reason enough for some. I hear the sound of cursing emerging from somewhere in the stall. I do not have to look far to locate the source. I don't want to critique from the sidelines, my love, but crinoline should never be handled like that. Why do you Londoners insist on such flimsy materials? You cannot say it is for the weather. Even in Khartoum we knew of your island that the sun had never laid eyes upon. Well, we're all down here now, ain't we? And you're in my employ, so I suggest you learn your crinoline from your plimsolls. Only if I can use your parasol to skewer another customer who talks back. Oh, it's you. I see you've not wasted any time. I've wasted plenty. But I will not stay idle any longer, not when opportunity calls. Even this opportunity. If you say so, lovesome. She's also been filling me in on some of what they got up to in the last city. Roses and silken webs and copper fires in the dock. Giving me a few notions for sure. I am glad my previous career can have benefits still. Anyway, as you can see, I am exceedingly busy. I have no time to discuss the past, and any foolish associations I may have entertained for far too long. I wish you'd reconcile. And I wish I were the wife of Prester John. If Batachikon wished to reconcile, he can squelch his way here himself. No, I haven't the faintest interest in how he fares, and am certain it will all end in disaster without me. So be sure to tell him no such thing. Now do excuse me, actual work to be done. I wish them both a good afternoon. Ah, well, top of the room for me. It's time to go home. Okay, took in sigil-marked candles or took in candles. Devil in details. Suppose our cynical candles made the air itself poisonous to David Landau. Milton explained that murder in the Neath need not be a permanent affair. It might in fact be a suitable light punishment. Phoebe made our cynical candles, and Milton marked them with a sign that made them burn longer and more potently. Phoebe filled David's room with these, and the effect was potent. It has the ring of truth. People saw and heard the pieces of this story. How it will end for Milton and Phoebe is another question, but at least it will be known. But for candles, candle collaboration. The story does account for most of what happened. And if we replace it with David, having spurned her, Phoebe with candles. No, Milton with the impermanent murder and the sigil-marked candles is the best one we have. Nothing tonight. I chew diligently. There are no more mushrooms on my plate. Okay, we can reconcile Batachi-Khan and Bakwajin. We can construct a story about Virginia's past. We can bring Rachel a novel plot. We can confront Pages. And I believe we still have 1 or 2 censuses we can do. Nothing new from Ivy or Barkwajin. Or from Archie. Day 299. 6 days remain in Yule. From the first of the morning paper, the headlines today read, Jovial master of debate offers vigorous contradiction on matters of theology, philosophy, botany, biology, economy, theosophy, and natural law. Any stance gladly adopted, services reasonably priced. Engage now to argue against your fears of coming apocalypse. And Fallen London players know exactly who that is. Let's see, I believe his handle would be September, or no, September is someone different. We've already met May. Come on, who is he? August, that's it. I reach for another memory out of that jumbled grab bag. I can't really remember. I'm out of other memories. I struggle to recall them and they just float away again. Reese always likes the sight of the badge. Happy Yuletide, Stuart. I trust you're well in these times. I thought I might finish your census form.
Mr. Pages already knows all about me. I would have thought it was a better use of time to ask anyone else. But I suppose for completeness we might as well.
You know, the census asks about matters of the heart. It's the only one I can't answer on my own.
I was engaged once. A gentleman wanted a gracious hostess and a mother to his heirs. A very eligible alliance, according to my parents.
So you ended the engagement.
I left both the gentleman and my family. That is when I came to Horatia's.
Even before the fall, Mrs. Chapman's boarding house attracted those who didn't belong anywhere else. A lady like Grease could not have lived alone at most respectable establishments, and she would scarcely have cared for the cheaper common lodging places. Why did you accept the proposal in the first place, then?
I could have set him on a political life.
She looks as though she might say more, but she thinks better of it. You bring the subject up gently. What an interesting figure Rachel is. Has Grease seen her recently?
Rachel wrote me a poem.
Was it any good?
I don't know. I don't like poetry as a rule. I can't tell whether it has any merit, which is embarrassing.
Possibly its artistic quality is not the most important thing to consider.
You don't have a poet's soul yourself, I think.
Silence falls.
The trouble is, I can't write poetry back. Last night my candle burned to the bottom when I tried to think of a rhyme for Rachel other than angel. Besides, all the love poems I know for ladies are manly.
Maybe Mr. Pages could assess its quality.
No. You would ask me questions that I do not want to answer. So many questions.
At this point, Grease gets an abstracted look on her face and wanders off into a reverie of her own. I have to clear my throat to get her attention back. I know your last name is Everly, or was before the fall. But it seems you've given it up?
I've been back to the family townhouse since the fall. One time. It was about 2 weeks afterward, and I had to know how they were all faring. The house was still there. The door was hanging open. No butler at the door. Gas lamps lit. It was brighter than Christmastide. Someone had even hung a couple of torches outside the front door. So I walked in. I don't really remember how long I walked around at first, what I saw. I knew something was wrong because I could hear sounds that didn't belong there. Shouting, singing, bottles smashing. A sound like someone grunting. In one of the salons, my father's body was laid out in a casket in state. Pale white, no one was guarding him. I went to say farewell to him, but I couldn't stay there long. I was sure someone would walk in. I was afraid of what else might be in the house. Looters, monsters. The servants gone mad, I didn't know. Then I found where my mother was. My mother was a renowned beauty when she married my father, though very proper also. A great enemy of scandal, my mother.
Whatever happened, it's likely not her fault. This time has been terrible for everyone.
Well, I wasn't at home, was I?
She shakes her head.
She was on a divan, naked. There was something sticky on her skin. It looked like honey. Servants, my own servants, some of them, and some of them from next door, were tasting the honey from her body. And then, as soon as they did, they...
The expression is a mirror of hers.
They just vanish, gone, as though they'd never been there. It didn't seem to frighten the others, though. One would slip away and another take his place just as quickly, or her place. My mother was alive but dozy, like her mind wasn't present. She didn't see me. Which is fair. I scarcely believed what I saw, either. I'm still not sure I was in my right mind.
What did Mr. Pages say? The Ministry might have some expertise in this.
I didn't ask him. I need the Ministry to trust me. It's the only way I can make sure things are done right around here. They're very good at things sometimes, but they also sometimes make the most peculiar misjudgments. And if they don't have help, someone will have to tell them how to speak to Londoners. I don't know what will happen. So I can't exactly go telling them that I might be out of my faculties. Do you think I'm losing my mind? Is it possible I imagined all that?
It is no more peculiar than the dozen or so other things that happen daily in the Neath. I don't think you invented it. Perhaps there was an explanation that you didn't guess.
It is difficult enough managing down here. How will it be if I can't trust my own eyes? Until we meet again, then.
Judging by the clock, I can afford another errand today. Action. Became a honey sipper. Okay, that's something that can go in the plot. Or perhaps it can't. It occurs to me that there's one mystery solution combination we might not have tried. Suppose our cynical candles made the air itself poisonous to David Landau. David planned to abandon Phoebe after an affair. Phoebe hoped they might marry. Now they lived in a place where old social rules had been overturned. Especially in the first days after the fall, it seemed that none of the old hierarchy now mattered. However, David had no intention to do any such thing, and in fact proposed to move back to the surface, with or without her. Phoebe made our cynical candles, and Milton marked them with a sign that made them burn longer and more potently. Phoebe filled David's room with these, and the effect was potent. The story explains a good deal, even why it is that the candles proved overpowering. What happens to Phoebe afterwards is another question. Okay, yes, this one is solid. But we have some other things to be doing before we turn it in. The brooch makes it look as though I'm doing some sort of official business, though who can say for what office? But Tachikon burbles a greeting. I met Barquajin. She's working at London in a shop. Tachikon makes a hoot of interest, followed by the honks of indifference. But Tachikon makes a wheezing hoot. This is followed by a single lonely warble. I think he might mean that he does not imagine she will agree. But if she is sincere and contrite, he is not a rubbery prone to grudges. There is a brief lull in the conversation. Farewell. The Tachikon hoots. My face betrays my feelings. It's getting late, so I'm heading back home. And nothing at dinner today. I chew diligently. Dinner reaches an end. Tell Barquajin that Tachikon is willing to reconcile. Nothing new there. Day 299, Yule. I finished taking the census with Greece. Greece told me a frankly shocking tale of her mother's questionable conduct at a servant's orgy. Vanishing honey was involved. "300 days since the fall. 5 days remain in the season of Yule." I get to the morning newspaper after Greece is done with it. The headlines today read, "Pigeons reintroduced in the yard of St. Fiacres." No new memories. Mr. Pages may expect me to turn up with my ministry badge on. The coat looks sober and the ministry badge looks official. With the combination of badge and apron, I look as though I'm distributing food on behalf of the ministry. Sometimes the accessories precede the rest of the outfit. Might look a little intimidating like this. Mr. Pages and I know one another too well now for any minor eccentricities of dress to surprise it. I may still have my own preferences about how I wish to appear, however.
Last night your name was spoken in a cauldron of masters. No predications were affixed, but the phenomenon was an antediserandium. Have you been followed in leaving here? Or in coming?
No.
You are not suffering from a deficiency in any of your senses that would make you more easily caught. A stoppage in your organs of echolocation?
Something looked in on me at home.
What was its pediculent aspect?
I only saw the eyes.
Were they faceted, numerically excessive?
No, two, of ordinary shape.
Yellow, slitted, burning, black.
They looked more like your eyes, but perhaps larger and more sinister.
This is not good. We must disassociate.
What could you even fear?
I am not the only master. There are differences of opinion, contests of domination. I have been prevalent. They envy and resent.
Surely there are ways we could keep safe.
Avoid the presence of strangers. Keep away from the sky. Abstain from absinthe. Tell no one what you do here. Break the mirrors in your home. Refuse honey if anyone offers it.
Why break the mirrors?
A mirror is a door. Things go in and things come out. Would it be possible to avoid sleep?
For a few nights, perhaps.
We may requisite sentries.
I will do whatever is needed, whatever it takes to stay with you.
The other masters will not forget or go away, but all our time is stolen time.
The page remembers what the heart forgets. You might keep archives of all your affections, present and past, and bring them out when you have need of them.
There is not enough time and ink for profligate diarism. But something in this line may be achieved.
I take a step closer. We both know I am not here to conduct any important business.
Is your heart involved? Measure the degree.
This time I try sitting on a desk for height. The experiment is not wholly a success. Pages is distracted by the damage to its hoard of vellum.
The young fall quickly. One forgets. You will recover. Slowly or not, you will disentangle your heart again.
Was this no more than a game for you?
A practicum. An experimentulence.
It pauses.
The experiment required sincere appetite.
The badge will eliminate any expectation of a social visit at any rate. Let's change. The apron and the crown say I am a tailor of a very esoteric kind. The corsage indicates a taste for bright colors. Actually, let's see. Did that end what was happening with pages? Yes. It would seem that it did. Do I have a visitor? I hoped Phoebe would say, in fact. As you like. You look dazzling today. Rachel makes a few flattering remarks on my better points. For a moment, no one speaks. Be careful where you step. The floor is covered in powdered beetle's wing. Do you have a great number of beetles here? No, and I had to go to some trouble to acquire it. I couldn't get bread flour. It's scarce here, as you might imagine. And I didn't want to use ash. She is talking even more quickly than usual. I think she must be embarrassed. I put it down in order to see what shape David's feet are. Ordinary human feet or rooster feet? They are ordinary feet, happily. If you wish me to take off my shoes, I can show you mine as well. They are also ordinary human feet. No, don't be ridiculous. I'm not worried about your feet. In the Zohar, there are creatures who come to us in the shape of the dead, perfectly copying the form of the dead in everything except their feet. Their feet remain rooster feet. Don't you think you'd know if your brother were something other than himself? It's hard to know what might be possible down here. I told Milton about the legend, and he was very interested in them. Though he was especially fixed on the idea that they're souls without bodies, and that they're descended from serpents. He kept coming back to that point over and over. Then he said it was as well to keep the mirrors covered, still if I was worried on that front, and went away. I don't know about rooster-footed shapeshifters, but Milton might be a dangerous person, if person is the right word. Friendship has a claim on me. I don't like this at all. What would his purpose have been? What is he even doing? I lay out the plot as I've arranged it, especially the neat conclusion. This ends very cheerfully. Yes. I need to write more chapters. They will require some source of difficulty. We begin in one predicament and we end in another. You left out the second predicament. You've built the story to a standing stop. Sorry. I should have realized. I know the requirements of the author may seem odd to the layperson, but if I sit down to write and I don't have suitable incidents in mind, nothing will go right. The characters will talk themselves in circles. Rachel's conversation circles back to Milton's salon, which is plainly the source of most of her social engagement. At first, he wouldn't entertain anyone who painted or sketched or works, yet committed acts of sculpture. He said you couldn't tell enough about the souls of the characters,
and it wasn't interesting to him if it didn't afford a view. But he was converted out of that by the contribution of the Solomons, especially Simeon, who, according to Milton, makes all his painted heroes into a temptation and a reproach. After that, the rules against visual representation were somewhat relaxed, and the company grew more mixed. The business of the salon is evidently central in Rachel's existence, but at the same time it is the one thing that David will not allow her to discuss at home. So she tells all of it to me, never tiring of its personalities and its particular etiquette, so unlike the manners of her own family. I should be elsewhere. My publisher will be sending around a messenger at any moment. Look after yourself, Doctor. At this point, I go back to Horatio's. Okay, so we need a story that ends badly. A tragic ending. Can't have her become a honey sipper, apparently. Now, let's go back to the wealthy eccentric. A spoilt beauty and the wealthy eccentric encountered one another in the land of nightmare. Spoilt beauty now dwelt in that place more than in waking life. Even when the spoilt beauty seemed awake, her thoughts were often elsewhere. The wealthy eccentric was hopelessly in love with the spoilt beauty, whom he met only in the land of dreams. The spoilt beauty was so afraid that she stayed up many nights in a row, and then one morning fell deeply asleep. The wealthy eccentric spread rumors about her misdeeds. The wealthy eccentric fights against regrets. A spoiled beauty has become a pariah. A spoilt beauty and the wealthy eccentric encountered one another in the land of nightmare. Wealthy eccentric had once had a bad experience with the spoilt beauty and dreamed of a violent revenge. Spoilt beauty slept many hours away, hoping to recover, and never sure how recovery might be achieved. The wealthy eccentric spread rumors about her exploits. The wealthy eccentric wrestles regrets. A spoilt beauty has become a pariah. Or wrestles envy. Or is recognized everywhere with disdain.
or has since died. I chew diligently. We finish eating. Day 301. 4 days remain in Yule. I'm the first of the morning paper. The headlines today read, Pallid Playwright's latest piece proscribed. Indicted as infernal indoctrination. Continues in that vein. Threnodies of Belgrave aggravates audience, arouses anarchy. Probably not the paronomastic newshound. Not nearly enough puns. No new memories. And we can continue with pages, it looks like. Mr. Pages seems glad to see me. Do you have anything more? Mr. Pages is pleased enough with my information to give me 2 pennies. Pages turns the papers over carefully. Almost all, as I would expect for under Congress. It's almost purring. But it stands there looking at the page about Greece's non-existent romantic life for what seems like a lifetime. Greece's previous suitor was unmeritory. By the sounds of it, she felt much the same. We will determine whether he lives and whether his family lives. Under Greece shall not be troubled with a distraction from them. Ah, yes. There's enough of my official duties for the moment. I've been thinking of you. Mr. Pages comes closer to me and whispers promises only demi-comprehensible. Speaks of parabolan bordellances, of velvet bonds, of the knowing adcrepescence of despair. Anticipation must be heightened before we proceed in this direction. Preparations must be made. If you permit, I will write to you. I nod. It goes to its desk and scribbles a long while. I try not to watch what it is doing. Tries several colors of ink on several forms of paper, mutters to itself, It glances up at me from time to time, appraising. Once it holds up its, yes, we must call them claws, and measures out my height. At last, Mr. Pages offers me an envelope, sealed in wax, and stamped with lettering I do not recognize.
This is to read when you are solitary. We did not wish to entrust it to the post. There is the risk of someone reading it.
This is a declaration of your feelings.
It is an accounting or recounting only for you to read.
Mr. Pages also counts out 7 coins from its jar.
These are for expenses.
The letter is written in pale ink on dark paper. The handwriting is Page's own, spiky and barely legible, and spots of ink show where it hesitated. It takes 3 readings even to begin to extract a meaning. Inverted orientation, due to the underfluity of pedal claws. Balancing of wings. Yes. Pages appears to be saying that it usually performs its seductions hanging upside down. Recommends that I go to Ferret's Menace Eradication and request furniture, not a bed. It is something more intricate than a mere bed. Follow Page's directions for equipment from Ferret. The nature of the commission is obscure in the extreme. Perhaps Ferret will be able to make more sense of this document than I can. I consider what impression this will make on Ferret. Ferret acknowledges me with a nod. You look dazzling today. Ferret looks too distrusting for friendly gestures.
Even if you're not looking for immediate eradication, maybe you're in the market for a cage. Got all sizes. I could do you something for birds, bats, crickets.
Do you sell many cricket cages?
More than I did before the fall. Crickets can be eaten, apparently.
Possibly with wild honey in the manner of John the Baptist?
Can't say I'm an expert in Mr. the Baptist's victuals.
There's something I was told you might help me with.
What is it?
I try to explain, but I get so tangled that, in the end, I hand over the paper.
I see. We can do this. Me and the rats, that is to say. It's a complicated bit of engineering. You're lucky you didn't come asking for this before the fall. The authorities was more particular, and the workmanship wasn't so good. But now the little bastards can turn out a piece like this for you in no time at all.
So you can make what I need, then, from the letter. Give you 7 pennies for the equipment for Mr. Pages.
Well, now, I've taken 6, but they say generosity always does come back to you. Not sure it's true, Stuart, but I owe you one now. Send this round to the address listed when it's done, shall I?
Whatever it is, it's likely better for Mr. Pages to receive it than Horatia. Probably. I nod at Ferret's updated sign. Times are changing, I see.
Well, the sign was giving me a bit of a professional headache, truth be told.
Rats, moles, spiders. Instruction and conversion.
Hard to look myself in the eye at the end of a day's work. What with being a rat catcher and there being talking vermin. Sorry, shouldn't say vermin. I'm told it ain't polite. Not if I've been talking to him, obviously.
I raised my eyebrows. Found one of them in a trap in the pantry. Well, I says pantry, cupboard above the store. Speaking piteously he was, enough to make a statue weep. Which they had not started doing yet, I hasten to add. I raised an eyebrow, thinking of Horatio's new tenant. Oh, Lord bless us and save us, tell me not a word of it. Well, anyway, long story short, once I apologized, we struck up quite the repartee, which is a long way round of introducing you to Algy here. The rat darts across the counter and bounds onto your shoulder, where it sits, whiskers twitching. Algy. Algy? Really?
I do beg your pardon. It's just easier to make myself heard from up here. It is not algae, Ratcatcher. That sounds like something one finds in the common sort of pond. My name is Algernon. Anyway, a very good day to you, friend of ferret.
Delighted to meet you, Algernon.
A pleasure to meet someone from the Queen's comes naturally.
There's nothing wrong with me English.
Before all this, I lodged at Westminster School. This has all been quite the shock, let me tell you.
Some of us had to work for our education. People are funny about rats still, in spite of the talking. I wondered about finding a means of legitimizing them. The church, perhaps. Imagine, vergers with whiskers. Well, more whiskers. Couldn't imagine a better sign of the times being changed than getting rats in pews. Of course, we need to make it official. Get some kind of presbyterate. No, that's not the word. What was it you said about who's it?
Precedent.
That's it. We need one of them to make the rats nice and official. Those pews are already filled. Right, by those clutching their hymn books and praying for the Lord Almighty to make things just as they was. We'll blow that for a game of soldiers. If even the church has to change, they've no excuse no more. Will you help us? Assisting constructing a history of rats. With your ministry connections, it should look that bit more official. If there's later steps to be taken with the church. I'm not on best terms with the vicar.
The church does look unkindly on using the wafers in traps. I can't imagine why.
Of course I will.
Thank you. Every path has its puddle.
I'll consider a story for how the rats came to know language.
Now you come through. Make it seem innocent, eh? But not too subservient.
Story that make talking rats acceptable to the church, and what's it? Maybe there was leftovers from Noah's time, or some holy fool found a way down here and told him how to squeak properly. Goodbye for now, Algy. Enjoy your time with your new pal.
I tolerate this indignity only if it means alternate companionship.
I shall miss you too. Seek social acceptance for Algernon. Have a good afternoon. Do come back, especially if you have anything of a verminous nature that wants looking into, or if you meet with any likely urchins that wants to apprentice. Went looking for the ragged school, but they ain't to be found where they used to be. Horatio will be setting out the food now. A rat. Taught speech. Rescued. Still wanders the Neath. Distrusted. And the final story to craft. Rat Hagiographies. Tell a story of rats gaining the power of speech. Someone, a rat, taught speech. Rodent domestication. Once upon a time, someone of unusual insight or power was passing through the Neath. The nameless individual did something for the rat and all its kind. The rat mannered mannerly thanks for this kind service. A rat used his new position to introduce new ideas to human society. The unknown individual may well still be alive somewhere in the Neath. But the someone is locked. Let's take Algernon down to dinner. A rat of exceptional breeding, what you might call an aristocrat, and certainly not algae. If you wish to enliven the grimness of the coat, I recommend almost anything other than that corsage. An austere and sober look that does not detract from the glory of your headgear. The bare face will give your thoughts away. This must be suitable wherever we go, I feel. This is the perfect outfit to make yourself something better to wear. Okay, so the badge is suitable wherever we go. Any kind of badge is suitable wherever we go. The jacket asks a question. What crime did you commit? The answer is embodied in that fake corsage. We should not go anywhere where that jacket would be suitable attire. I recommend burning it. No one will trust your taste in fashion while you are wearing that abomination on your lapel. Archie's trial is scheduled in a few days' time. If there's anything you had to tell me about it, you have 3 full days left to do so.
Further evidence against our friend?
Or further alibis.
You're intruding on our supper.
I've worked out the truth. I'll bring it to you. You know where to find me.
This would not be necessary if he had given us warning. Archie could have gone into hiding. There are ways under the city, within it.
What do you think, Moss? We do not have many fugitives in Polythrene. It is difficult to escape the law when every brick can proclaim which way you went. I chew diligently. There are no more mushrooms on my plate. Okay, show theory of rat speech to ferret. Revisit Mr. Page's and see whether the item has been delivered. Tell Barkojin that Batachi-kan is willing to reconcile. Craft a story about Virginia's past. Craft a plot for Rachel's next novel. Day 300. Mr. Pages showed less reserve than usual. Moss showed less reserve than usual as well. I annoyed Rachel and had to apologize. The apology was accepted this time. Day 302. 3 days remain in Yule. Grease leaves me the newspaper after she's read everything of political import. The headlines today read, Imports from above, silks, confections, and a full supply of crickets. Well, now we have something for the sulky bat, should we find it. No new memories. Let's do that in the afternoon. Brooch makes it look as though I'm doing some sort of official business, though who can say for what office? One must hope Barkojin does not have a prejudiced fear of vermin. Stuart, it's good to see you. I see you've noticed my headgear. I like to consider myself a fascinator. Just an example of my affiliation with the creatures of the Neath. Barkojin laughs. For a moment, no one speaks. Do you grow tired of the damp? At times. I remember having dry garments. It was a different lifetime. I think he would like you back. Oh, and I have no occupation of my own, do I? No urgent business at my shop. At which I am now, I assure you, utterly integral. No, I could not possibly conceive of returning. I'll leave you be, then. Wait. If you absolutely insist, I suppose I have no choice than to assist this misguided robbery. Of course, only if you are certain. I am. Oh, very well. I suppose I can lay down my burdens and my flourishing career in commerce, and come to the rescue of this foolish robbery man, who is no doubt falling apart at the seams without me. And only because you have insisted so eloquently on the depths of his need. Tell him I shall see him at the Khan Page's abode. In fact, he has already spoken with Mr. Pages.
Has he? And no doubt he's made plans for himself that he has no hope of completing. He will need help. I will assist.
Silence falls. Barkogen considers whether there is anything to add.
I am bored of your talk of London. Leave me to contemplate happier times. You should leave. I have toppled great houses for less than your offenses against me.
I just have time for another errand today. It might look a little intimidating like this. Mr. Pages is familiar with me by now. Ferret's contraption stands in the corner of the room, taller than I am. It is wood and leather and bronze, intricately made, and it gleams as though polished. Is that what you wanted?
It matches the requirements I stated. If it does not please you, it is not what I wanted.
Mr. Pages steps towards me. At first, the contraption is a mystery of straps and supports, pivots and hinges. Eventually, it's clear where human ankles might strap in, and where human shoulders might be supported. There's a separate perch above, from which Mr. Page's taller body might hang. Mr. Pages extends, yes, we can only call it a claw, and traces the neckline of my clothes. The construction is exacting and the parts very delicate, as though the whole structure were made by a watchmaker. Down several of the supports are sigils stamped into the surface, faintly aglow. I can feel Mr. Page's breath on my neck. What do the words do? Mr. Page's gestures at a sigil written on the left upright of the contraption.
This negates discomfort.
Another sigil.
This prevents unguarded speaking.
My scalp prickles with unaccustomed heat. Next thing I know, Mr. Pages is batting at my head with the edge of its robe.
You are smoldering. Stop reading.
And Ferret wrote these sigils.
No, I inscribed them after delivery.
The sigils do show the untempered energy of Page's handwriting. It appears unkempt when applied to ink in English words. Here it is fierce and calligraphic. Mr. Pages nips my ear. What about these? It is impossible for such a furred creature to blush.
They avert overbalance and miscontrol.
I peer more closely. Mr. Pages says something so high-pitched I can scarcely make it out. I may require some assistance in, getting inside. In a surprisingly short time, Mr. Pages has me upside down and almost secured in place. It is more comfortable than one might expect.
Shush!
Last, it lashes something to my back, attaching at my shoulder blades. And I have, for the moment, wings. made of leather and metal, but mine to direct with a shrug or a thought, not for flying, but for balance and control. They aren't true wings, they aren't mine, but they're enough to make me feel like someone, like something entirely else. Mr. Page's too disrobes, takes its place on its perch, and we are at last face to face. Without the false wings, I would hang like a fly in a spider web. With them, I had almost its equal, even in this position. Its ministrations are intricate and persistent.
There has been no one to do this for. It has been a long time. Aeonity.
Held to the fur of its chest, I can hear its heartbeat, high and fast. Day 302. Mr. Pages showed less reserve than usual. That is certainly one way of phrasing it. I chew diligently. We finish eating. "303. 2 days remain in Yule." As usual, I resort to the morning papers. The headlines today read, "Bazaar distributes echo currency for purchase of food and fuel." Walking in like a member of the constabulary will make a particular impression on Ferret, and not necessarily a favorable one. Let's change. Wearing Algernon, there's always the risk the two of them will be thick as thieves and I won't get a word in. Pleases Ferret, though, seeing their old friend.
Ah, you've brought back Algie.
Algernon doffs his own small cap to Ferret. Ferret nods to me. I lay out the beginnings of my story, how the rats might have been trained and converted long ago.
Now Algernon here tells me the rats might already have a dose of religion, which might be enough to give us an in. Well, silly as it sounds, when Westminster School fell with me in it, it was washed out to sea. I found myself clinging to a school desk and subsisting on chalk. But far below the water I saw a glow like gold beneath the waves. I thought I spied a man, much too large. He held a goldsmith's lens and a tail. He waved me on. I thought it a dream, as one has on the verge of death. I don't suppose the saint introduced himself? No. Seems as he might have better manners. The rules of ordinary etiquette are famously inapplicable to holy men. Much as I hate to bother a man busy bothering God, might be that the vicar's our next best bet. Any chance you might help me mend my traps? I'd be in your debt. Of course I will. Thank you. There's no joy without alloy. So I spend a mostly agreeable hour repairing traps and cages. Now and then, Ferret whistles tunelessly. I'll see you then. Have a good morning. By the by, if you do fancy a bit of a visit now and then, and warm your hands at the furnace, you're always welcome. No need to have official business before you drop in. Always happy to tell you what's what in the vermin business. Might be you could tell me a thing or two about your work if you have the mind. Won't be possible. Right then, won't mention the subject a second time. You don't have to tell me twice. That leaves time for another errand today. Dwells underwater. Maybe that's usable. No. One must hope Rachel does not have a prejudiced fear of vermin. You have a visitor? Good to see you. I pause and look in Phoebe's direction. Algernon makes a pretty speech on my behalf. Rachel makes a few flattering remarks on my better points. Silence falls. Rachel brings up a legend, common amongst the servant classes, that the Neath contains many other fallen cities. They say it's just the way the floor of the deep ocean is covered with bones. When Leviathan dies, it sinks to the bottom, and there is no one to bury it. Explain what I have in mind. How wretched. We're approaching the end of the story. Something more terrible must happen. Let us say she receives word from up the Cumaean Canal. Her former betrothed is alive and well and has married someone much wealthier than she was. Rachel does look grateful. Rachel adds a proper payment. Thank you. You really are a lovely person. Think nothing of it. This will be the last chapter, so give it a good ending, eh? And I'll pay a little extra this time. We fall, as often, into talking about Rachel's artistic friends. You might think that Milton's critique would put people off, but it is the critique that brings people to the event. If he were not sharp, no one would come. We all hate the burden of our readers, those of us who are being published at all. It is such a relief to write, not for the broad and toothless mass with their arbitrary and conflicting preferences, but for one specific, precise, and narrow target.
Then she caricatures for me several of Milton's most devoted and least effective devotees. The subject occupies us for most of an hour. There's a chapter waiting for me to finish it. Goodbye. There isn't much time left before Archie's trial. 1 day left. I wish we'd found a way to break him out. I've discovered who is really to blame. I intend to tell Harjeet as much. If you say so, but I rely on you not to let this go wrong. I chew diligently. Dinner reaches an end. "304 days since the fall. 1 day remains in the season of Yule. And there is something we have committed to do. I get to the morning paper after Grease is done with it. The headlines today read, Sylvester Lovelace preaches against the ignoble practice of soul donation. Sermon transcribed on page 3. Develop a plot about the heroine learning of her romantic abandonment. Spoiled Beauty struggled with the knowledge that her long-lost betrothed had married someone else. The man of business encountered her in the midst of this gloom. A happy ending. A tragic ending. Huh, I just noticed that David's expression is changing. Spoiled Beauty struggled with the knowledge that her long-lost betrothed had married someone else. The man of business encountered her in the midst of this gloom. The man of business was in love with no hope of return. Spoiled Beauty immediately fled London. The man of business died alone, broken-hearted. The man of business enjoyed a posthumous reputation as a virtuous spouse. Spoiled Beauty delights in the last laugh. Okay, and the solution we have. Devil in details. Suppose our cynical candles made the air itself poisonous to David Landau. Milton explained that murder in the Neath need not be a permanent affair. It might in fact be a suitable light punishment. Phoebe made our cynical candles, and Milton marked them with a sign that made them burn longer and more potently. Phoebe filled David's room with these, and the effect was potent. It has the ring of truth. People saw and heard the pieces of this story. How it will end for Milton and Phoebe is another question, but at least it will be known. And, as we have agreed, present the theory to Harjeet. Doesn't much matter what I'm wearing for this particular task. And if I bring Harjeet a case that can't be brought to trial, he'll tell me that quickly, so I can get something else done today. Otherwise, telling him might lead straight away to an arrest. Perhaps Harjeet will find Algernon an amusing deviation from the tedious strictures of fashion. Whatever bad blood there is between me and Harjeet, he very clearly did not forget about it since last we met. Algernon makes his bow to Harjeet and extends one paw in greeting. Harjeet makes a few flattering remarks on my better points. We turn to the price of mushrooms, the difficulty of finding fuel. These are the subjects that people discuss in the Neath, in order to avoid talking about teeths and snakes and the occupants of our dreams. I believe I know what happened and why. I lay out the whole story as I've reconstructed it, complete with means and motives. And what you're bringing me, you're sure of it? After I've taken this to my superiors, I won't be able to retract it. If you change your mind later, it will be too late. I'm sure. Get a good night of sleep. Do whatever else you mean to do. Tomorrow, the case will be heard. That leaves time for another errand today. Mr. Pages greets me warmly. You are not bringing census to us. Mr. Pages studies me. On its desk is a newspaper. I recognize the headline. It is one that published my first theory for Archie. The Ministry Badge. You may keep it only if you are still supportive of the Ministry. Those of different loyalty or occupation may not wear it. Extends its robed arm towards me to receive the badge back. I cannot see its hands. They remain covered. I'd like to keep working here. Your commitment is welcome. Is your motive primarily commercial, or do you have other considerations? Where else could I enjoy your company? In other circumstance, one might propose an amatory excursion. I understand that Londoners used to ride in the park. The parks aren't what they used to be. Moreover, the horses are encasseroled. Meetings in the Ministry are more convenient. I take a step closer. We both know I am not here to conduct any important business. Mr. Pages comes closer to me and whispers promises only demi-comprehensible. Speaks of parabolan bordellances, of velvet bonds, of the knowing essence of despair. I stand on the chair. Pages unfolds me in its robes. We are getting better at this. Mr. Pages indulges itself in telling me the plots of novels it has read since it came to London. The topic appears to soothe and comfort it. Far more, at any rate, than thinking about the politics or its fellow masters. I prepare to go, but we find we each have more to say. Once again, the conversation continues long after we have exhausted any urgent business. We talk about books we have read, and books written in other cities before London, and books written in London before the fall, where my own knowledge of its gaps is enough to sit and listen to Mr. Pages. Outside the offices, something tiptoes past our door. When we part, we are simmering with things unspoken. I shake my head to clear it. The ruminations are gone. All is as it was. I cannot come along to the trial. If you can't bring Archie home afterwards, well, come and tell me immediately. I want to send him something in prison for his last meal, if it is his last meal. Dinner is a very quiet affair from there. Okay, nothing new from Harjeet. Nothing new from Pages. "305 days since the fall. It is the end of Yule. We are due in court this morning. Nothing new to remember. To the Old Bailey. Before the fall, any poisoner in all of England might be brought here for trial. Lately it's been closed for renovation. Attend the trial. Quiet, quiet. Order, sit down. I am unhappily aware that most of you have forgotten how to conduct yourselves in a courtroom. If in fact you ever knew. For those of you new to Her Majesty's justice, you find yourselves in the freshly repaired Old Bailey. Apparently, we're to count ourselves fortunate that it is in good enough condition for us even to meet here. We are gathered here to try Mr. Archibald Reed, Miss Phoebe Riley, and Mr. Milton on the charge of murdering Mr. David Landau. I glance round at Archie. Archie is frowning slightly in Milton's direction, as though trying to work out how this is going to complicate the case. We also find ourselves able to welcome the murder victim among us. He is unusually hale for one in his position. Mr. Landau, if you would. We will rely on him for evidence and to lend a certain moral tone to the proceedings. I have often found that a murder trial devolves into chaos and a carnival atmosphere.
but I am certain all that was formerly lacking was the presence of the victim. Mr. Landau, if you could look a bit more martyred, that would be ideal. We must now turn matters over to our prosecuting barrister.
A small correction, my lord. Though Mr. Reed is required to be present due to his original arrest, the prosecution has concluded that the fault lies elsewhere, and Mr. Reed was not, as we first thought, a co-conspirator.
I see. Members of the jury, please consider that Mr. Archibald Reed is innocent in this matter.
David looks as though it is a social embarrassment to be found alive after his murder. The barrister makes David recount the tale of his death. So far, it's much as I'd heard before, laying out the question of opportunities and visits to the deceased's bedchamber. The critical question appears to be, Mr. Landau, who had the opportunity to poison you? You were ill and were alone most of the day before you died.
I was.
But you saw a few people. My housekeeper, Phoebe Riley, came to see to the candles, and Mr. Reed, who was attending me as a doctor. Mr. Reed came and gave me a dose of medicine. Was it the first time Mr. Reed attended you? No, he had been treating me for some days. But you had not recovered. Not entirely, but his treatments had reduced my pain. I keep still as before. And those were the only people who entered your room? Yes, my sister was in the house, though I think she did not come into the room. I sometimes could hear voices outside. I believe her friend Mr. Milton was present that day, and perhaps also her dressmaker, Ivy Fitzclarret. And none of them sent you messages, gifts, or food, perhaps carried to you by your housekeeper? No. In fact, you and Mr. Milton were not on friendly terms. I distrusted his reasons for visiting my sister. And he was aware of your disapproval? Rachel was aware of it. She may have told him. So he may have regarded you as an impediment to plans of his own, or simply disliked you as heartily as you dislike him. It's possible. Thank you, Mr. Landau. Miss Rachel Landau. My brother died in October, a few weeks after Yom Kippur. He had been suffering considerably from pain in the stomach, and had been receiving treatment from Dr. Reed. When you say Dr. Reed, Miss Landau...
When you say Dr. Reed, Miss Landau...
I beg your pardon. Mr. Reed is not a physician, but he was in training.
Very good. Continue.
On the day of his death, only 2 people went into David's room. One was Phoebe, to light candles, so that he could see his books and distract himself a little. The other was Mr. Reed, who administered a drug to him and departed. No more than a few minutes after Mr. Reed left, Phoebe and I heard a crashing from David's room. We went inside and found he had undergone convulsions and fallen from the bed. I observe and do not commit myself to any particular view. And these candles, were they bought at the market? Phoebe made them herself. What did she put into them, do you know?
I hope there is a purpose to these household hints in the courtroom.
The barrister hesitates. I give the barrister the tiniest nod. Miss Landau, do you know what was in the candles? I didn't inquire. Beeswax hasn't been plentiful lately.
Did you know, Miss Landau, that candles made with arsenic burn especially well? No. No, I only learned this recently myself. Let's see whether Miss Riley was aware of it. Miss Riley, you've heard Miss Landau's account of your employer's death. Is it correct? I suppose so, as far as it goes. So you went into Mr. Landau's bedroom on the day he died? There wasn't any scandal in that. We keep a respectable house, and it needs cleaning. Besides, I look after the Landaus when they're sick, brother and sister, till it gets so bad they need a doctor. But you lit candles of your own making. They contained arsenic in the recipe, did they not? They did, but there's nothing in that. It makes them burn brighter. I do not stir in my seat. The others in the room share the same solemn excitement. I put it to you that you are angry with your employer, and that Mr. Milton encouraged your anger. I wasn't angry with him. I put it to you that you saw an opportunity to kill David Landau through an atmospheric method that would go unnoticed. I put it to you that you made the candles more poisonous over time. I didn't change the recipe of the candles, no. I made them the same way every time. Or burn them in excess. Did you fill David Landau's bedroom with extra candles? I brought him enough to read by, as he asked. Thank you, Miss Riley. I would also like to remind the jury of what we have already heard from the formerly deceased. A number of people were in the Landau's townhouse on the day of his death, including Milton, the personage of hellish origin. You may just say devil. It seemed impolite. I believe it would be impolite to call him a demon, as those are creatures of quite a different genus. But I take my knowledge of devilish etiquette from the Unexpurgated Gazette. It may be imperfect. At any rate, this devil appears to have been a regular visitor. I call to the stand the Reverend Theophilus Witherneck. Mr. Witherneck, I understand you have some expertise in devils. Yes. Do you believe a devil might tempt someone to behave as they otherwise would not? No. No? The faults in our souls are our own. A devil can at most bring out what is already latent within. But might a devil encourage, say, a young woman to commit an act of violence? He might, but if he did such an act, it would still be her sin. In this matter, the law is perhaps more forgiving than the Church. Members of the jury, you must consider whether Milton was an accomplice to Miss Riley or a co-conspirator. The state of Miss Riley's soul is for other authorities than ourselves. If, in fact, she still possesses a soul. Thank you, Reverend Witherneck. We have heard the argument of the prosecution. We will now hear from the defense. Members of the jury, I have behaved as I behave from the motives of hell, which I do not expect you to comprehend. But I will explain myself, and then I will engage a human to interpret for you what I have done. David Landau died by the fumes of some arsenical candles. Phoebe Riley, you made the candles, following a household hint for candles that would burn brighter and more cheaply. Yes. You had initially no idea that they might make anyone ill. And in fact, the Landau household all used the candles for a long time. Yes. During that time, David Landau fell subject to headaches and digestive ailments. Did you think that might be to do with the candles?
Not till you pointed it out to me. There are all sorts of sicknesses down here.
Now, some time later, I became familiar with the household and observed its peculiarities. In particular, I noticed that Miss Riley was deeply unhappy. Weren't you?
I suppose so.
You were in love with your employer, and you'd had some hope he reciprocated. But it became clear that his interest in you had been temporary.
Yes.
And then, Miss Riley, you happened to confide in me when you were worried David Landau might return to the surface.
You seemed like you wouldn't tell anyone.
No, and I didn't tell anyone, Miss Riley, until now. But we have reached a point where frankness might spare your neck. Do you remember what I said to you then?
You said that if David, so to speak, died in a harmless way, it wouldn't last long and he'd come back spry and well again. With nothing wrong with him except he'd be cured of wanting the surface.
Ah, you were truthful up until that last moment, Phoebe. Care to try again?
With nothing wrong with him except, well, that he couldn't go back to the surface. I suppose you didn't say he'd stop wanting to.
No, I didn't say that, but we all of us want things now and then that we can't have.
I keep still as before.
Phoebe, you thought you would be guaranteed Mr. Landau's presence, and I suspected that the experience of death might have a clarifying effect on Mr. Landau's indecisive ethical mechanisms. I may have overestimated his capacity for the revitalization that death affords, but I observed that he wished and intended to do well, and gave himself great pain guessing at a moral course. And yet the result was an obnoxious indecision that troubled himself and everyone around him. He desired, and in some sense loved, his housekeeper. He knew that he had transgressed his own code in seducing her. If he had only had to face social disapproval, including, most powerfully, that of his sister, he might have gone ahead.
David has taken off his glasses and is polishing them, a frown between his brows. He is not looking at either Milton or Phoebe, but he is not denying anything either.
But he also knew that he and Miss Riley were unequally matched, not only in class and religion, in education and position, but in the deeper resources of character.
Oh, thank you kindly.
David Landau entirely lacked the wellspring of hope that lives in Miss Riley. He knew that he might not be content with her as a wife. He told himself that meant she would not be happy with him as a husband. He was almost certainly wrong. Phoebe's affection and her capacity for contentment are greater than Mr. Landau can easily imagine. He would not have insulted her if he'd gone on consulting his sister rather than his wife in matters of business. It would not have dented her joy if, as a family, they had avoided any social gatherings where they might be snubbed. She might have had a flicker of doubt if he had asked her to convert from her own faith to his.
No, I wouldn't have cared. I've done that for him, even that. There's Ruth in the Bible, isn't there? God doesn't think ill of those who take up the faith of their family. Though I asked Rachel once, not saying why, but just inquiring if there was a like thing for baptism for becoming Jewish. She said they don't much look to have converts as a rule. I'd have done it, though, if he'd have asked me. But you've ruined that for certain now. Would not love me that killed him. How could he?
I observe, and do not commit myself to any particular view. That remains to be seen. But let us stick to the matter of the case. Phoebe decided to kill her employer, slightly, impermanently, and with the greatest affection.
You didn't tell me how it would feel.
No one could have told you that. In any case, members of the jury, you should also know that Phoebe did not have the means to kill, even with her candles. They were too weak, they burned too fast, they did not give enough poisonous fumes. That is where I provided some assistance. I know a sigil that, written into the wax of a candle, will prolong its burning and strengthen its fire. I so inscribed all the candles meant for David Landau's bedroom. I do not stir in my seat. The others in the room do not share the same solemn excitement. Were you surprised when David died, Phoebe?
I was a bit. I didn't think it would work. I didn't think. I could have done it if I did think it would work, to tell the truth. Then I thought he'd just come back right away, which he didn't.
Thank you, Phoebe. For my part, I was alarmed that the family buried Mr. Landau so quickly. I was aware of the burial custom, but I also knew that dreams were coming to Londoners, warning them of the danger of premature burial. I therefore disinterred Mr. Landau and put him in a safe place to await his return. Mr. Landau, if you would. Where did you return to life, Mr. Landau?
I was on a bench in a mausoleum building adjoining the graveyard.
Did you not wonder how you got there?
I wondered about everything. That question was the very smallest of the mysteries. And if I'm meant to be grateful after you killed me in the first place...
No, I still don't expect you to understand what I've done for you. Never mind, Mr. Landau. As for Mr. Landau's grave, I knew there was some chance his family would revisit it. Disinterring people had become faddish in London, as the dreams against burial spread. So I placed in his grave a simulacrum grown in the swamps of the Lily-mire, a false David, to pacify anyone who looked for him. It will have decayed by now. Whatever your reasoning, you appear to have confessed to every matter in consideration. I have admitted being the cause of the events, but neither the mens rea nor the actus reus was present for murder. I did not kill David Landau in permanent fashion, nor did I intend to. Assault, then. Refinement, education. For devils to die and be reborn is a sacred and consequential thing. I no more assaulted David Landau than a surgeon would have done, operating on a diseased limb.
I do not stir in my seat. The others in the room share the same solemn excitement. Phoebe Riley had reason to be vexed with me. I treated her as no housekeeper should be treated, and afterward I expected her to resume her duties in an ordinary way. I disturbed the structure of our household, and I did not restore it to its proper form.
Do you mean to imply, Mr. Landau, that Miss Riley would have been justified in murdering you?
I mean to imply that her situation was untenable, and mine as well, if I am truthful.
Members of the jury, you have heard the argument. An extraordinary argument, but an argument nonetheless. And now you must make a judgment. Was a murder done here? Was it only an accident? Whereas the prosecution entirely failed to make its case. If you cannot convict beyond a reasonable doubt, then you must not convict at all.
It is a very long time before they come back, an agonizing time. Finally, the court returns. The jury proclaims Archie to be not guilty. But as to Phoebe and Milton, they are both found guilty, and of deliberate murder.
Phoebe Riley and Milton, it is now my duty to sentence you. You have been found guilty of murder, a crime that carries the punishment of death by hanging. I thank you for the kind invitation, but I will decline. The method you propose would not in fact end my life. Imagine the scene, me hanged, but still chattering with the passers-by. A social solecism unworthy of either of us, I'm sure you'll agree. I did not put your sentence to you as a request.
My lord, you cannot require anything of a devil.
It has been put to me that I should consider the survival of your victim as a mitigation, and regard your act instead in light of an assault. I do not, however, accept this argument. Phoebe Riley, you are sentenced to hang by the neck until dead. Once this sentence has been performed, your life thereafter is your own.
I knew it would have to be. But it's no worse than going on as is, maybe. After I'm dead, that'll just put a line under it.
Miss Riley, I cannot advise you on that. I can mete out punishment, but not forgiveness. I suggest you confer with a priest.
There's none this time for me. Never mind, I know what he'd say. I cannot quite believe it. I'm free of the ungut, not to be executed, not to have my good name turned into mud. Can't thank you enough, Doctor. No less than you deserved, my friend. I'll even return to the surface and look for my family again. Down here, your Theriac of Mithridates worked. You can learn new things on doctoring that you never knew. Perhaps David Landau will get his transport working after all. Give me a ride to the surface. Phoebe is hanged in the morning. Once the hangman would have dispatched her quietly inside of Newgate Prison. Newgate no longer stands, however, and the case has attracted some attention, as the first murder trial held in the Neath. Instead, she is put to death at Hangman's Arch. I did not go. Who would attend something like that? It's bad enough that it must happen. I thought of Phoebe as one of us. No one could expect such a thing. I knew she wasn't quite like us, of course. But that she would turn against us. When I think what a source of strength she seemed to be at the inquest. Rachel, stop. You understand what happened. We both understand. There's no purpose to pretending otherwise. What happened, it's sordid, beneath us. We aren't the sort of people. How respectable you are suddenly. Never mind what sort we are. Only what we've done and what we are going to do next. We can't help Phoebe now. What if she can't get back from the boat? She'll get back, Phoebe, of all people. Let her just laugh one time, and the boatman will know he cannot hold her. It's a loud laugh. Very loud. Unrefined. The best laugh I've ever heard. Life is quieter after the trial, at least for a time. Christmas Day comes and goes. Pale flakes fall across London. They aren't exactly snow. Grease's work at the ministry becomes more intense, more demanding. And soon, we are coming up on the 1-year anniversary of the fall. 1 year since February. Doesn't feel right to call this month February again. Tried. Experience the season of Yule. 364 days since the fall. 1 day remains in the season of the Rose. Phoebe's death lasts perhaps a little longer than David's. When it's over, she comes to see us. I've come to ask for a place in this lodging house. I suppose your employers turned you off? I gave notice. And I don't suppose they gave you a reference. I assume Phoebe has a reason for coming to us. You weren't at the trial, Miss Chapman. I wasn't there, but that doesn't mean I don't know what happened. My lodgers speak to me. I take a newspaper. I have neighbors. I have cat friends who've come and whispered to me about what you did. If you don't want to be here, I understand. It is a house for outcasts. She needs a place. I don't think she'll be making any new candles. Horatia hesitates. I wish I could help. I see how it is. Where will you go? I don't know. There's places for less respectable women, though. I hope someone does choose to help you. From Christian charity. But it can't be here. Not everything that needs doing is down to me doing it. The Feast of the Rose is upon us, and there are certain sartorial requirements. Get your feast basket. A gift from the exceptional rose. Or a choice of them, in fact. And if you've a score to settle with anyone, I can help you with that too for a small consideration. Something rotten to an individual you don't fancy. I'll take the smelliest item you have. A liver wrapped in black paper. I can do you a posy of dead birds to go with it if you like. All the heads pointed up, beaks open, little tongues poking blackly at the sky. Just a penny more. No, that's too good for the person I've got in mind. Now, where are we thinking to send it? I have a score to settle. Better you than me. Glad to do these little services. What we're here for, innit? And if, after I've made the exchange, she notes it down in a small notebook, well, there's probably no harm in that. Now, you'll be needing something to wear. Delicate rose mask. A mask for the Feast of the Rose. Suitable for meeting friends, knitting matches, and pursuing deeper connections. Does that suit you, then? It's hard to say without trying the other. Ah, if you like. You're demanding one, but I did bring both for a reason. Austere rose mask. Same. You'll be needing it for the festival that's coming. What's this one? A time for love, seduction, promises. They say the power at the back of it is Mr. Wince. Does Mr. Wince also have a ministry? That's not entirely in his style. Wear the mask to the face and look for the person you most desire in your future. Friend, lover, spouse-to-be. Perhaps they'll be looking for you in turn. Or go alone and enjoy the crowd. Something in that, too. The South Bank. A scenic path along the stolen river, favored by lovers and pickpockets. I make my way through London. Sometimes I still have to rely on memorized pathways, on strange rituals. There's a barricade between Vale Garden and the stolen river, unless one pays in coin or word. But many of the difficult old streets lie still now. All of London is out, walking along the Thames, taking part in the feast. Vendors are selling candies and angry bats in cages. The festival goers are enjoying themselves, but now and then I'll hear one trying to guess what the feast is truly for. Can't trust the masters entirely, can you? I didn't want to believe anything bad about you. But you did. I followed the course of the law. It is an agreement we all enter. I did not do anything wrong, and you knew it. I thought I knew. The law thought otherwise. I've set loyalty to one person above all other considerations before. And you know the end that came to. What do you mean by that? I know what he means, and that'll do. You've not found Lucian, then? Wherever he's gone, he has forgotten me. I am starting to wish I could do the same to him. Friendship has a claim on me. Might be he'll come back to seeing you for a friend. But the hurt's not faded yet.
We've all got our wounds.
That reminds me, I need a fresh order of laudanum.
Perhaps that ends better than I feared. I hope to never arrest another friend. Suppose it is helpful that I have so few.
So all of this was your design? Hardly. I did, however, choose the location of the primary festivities, as well as ordering the decorations and arranging for the refreshments. I stand by my original interpretation. London has you to thank for all of this. I believe there are things we have yet to see at this feast. There are supposed to be candies shaped like bats. I tried to prevent it. I'm glad you failed. I am starting to feel decidedly extra in this conversation. They move down along the embankment. I don't follow. What they have to say from here is best said privately. I don't see Pages at first. I do see other faces in the crowd, though. Others I could stop and speak with before I go on if I choose. Ah, there you are. I see your craving for novelty extends to more than spelunking in abandoned crevices in the city. Batachi-kan makes an amused warble, full of reminiscence. We won't keep you long. There is much to organize. Page's refusal has carried with it an obligation towards haste. It appears keen that the rubbery exodus has begun. It feels that London is ready. Batachi-kan makes a profound hooting. He seems to suggest he is glad not to be carrying this task alone. Neither of us is certain of success, but when has anything down here been planned? Batachi-kan makes a doleful honk. He seems to imply that preparedness is a luxury few are afforded. I suppose we at least have had sentries. As soon as you found us, it was time, I think. I hope London treats you kindly. I suspect we will have little say in that, but the sentiment is appreciated. Batachi-kan makes a piercing hoot. He hopes London will treat you just as kindly. And if you ever wish to pay our time together forward, the rubbery men will require friends in London when they arrive. I fear they will have few. I despise sentiment, and I am certain we shall see each other again. Indeed, I shall track you down and inflict my company upon you if we do not. Now go away before you make me say something entirely uncharacteristic. Batachi-kan makes an amused oath of He's glad Barquagen has made a friend. Pages. Before I speak with Mr. Pages again.
The fall of Lacre has ceased. The snow is gone from the streets. We have more time for the gathering of stories. And those who have been my enemies among the masters, they have drawn back. Nonetheless, we are not beyond perilance. The other masters will not like it. They might kill you, or steal you to hold you to ransom.
I mean to become one of you myself, another master of the bazaar.
Even if you grow wings, you will not be one of our company. If you learn our language and the letters of fire, you will not share the memory of the high wilderness. You will not know our wandering or our servitude. The bazaar has not laid you in bonds.
We'll keep our connection quiet.
Censorship cannot accomplish all that is needed. Nonetheless, we will endeavor. The feast nears its delicious conclusion. Many hearts are broken, but not ours.
Barquichin and Batachikhan become a recognizable fixture of London life. His trade goes from obscurity to curiosity to eventually an empire. At some point, Barquichin and he part, though I believe on the best terms. He takes to London in a way she can never bring herself to. But sometimes, when I visit Batachikhan at his factory, I find him gazing into a piece of mirrored glass. As for Phoebe, one day I see her emerging from a small employment bureau. The laws are changing now. They might be reshaped. The courts and the constables are in new hands. They might find new loyalties. The Neath is dark. It might hide us all from judgment entirely. This is long work, but I am ready. We have only had a year in the Neath. In a decade or two, what will we not have done? New sigil unlocked. The return is second time. This sigil can be interpreted as the circle that turns inwards, or the eclipse is only so in certain locations. Ended the game with justice, perhaps, being performed. All the possible beginnings of this story are open to you now. Start again, you may find a very different ending to record on the flank of the bazaar. the weight that pulls all under. Interpret it as parlous loyalty, or the introduction of impermanence in a permanent place. Experience the season of confessions. The perilous descent without cessation. Cessation of flight and freefall, or the world burned on its axis, called the Fall of London. The Forge of Souls. The chance construction of permanence, or the union of precious objects, made a meaningful connection in London. Adversity of the gravitational pull. The measurement of greater safety, tested and won. Experience the season of Yule. Liberation of roses. The parallel of proximate orbits moving in unlikely conjunction. The season of the rose. The return of a second time. Circle that turns inwards, or the eclipse is only so in certain locations. Ended the game with justice, perhaps, being performed. A revelation that usurps expectation. The arc of a descent that is in fact a curve, or that which is altered has not ceased to be as it was. Experienced a hollowness confession. Thank you for watching. I have been James, and the game has been Mask of the Rose. I believe I will do another run, since it's still February. If you wish to see me do that, please follow me on Twitch. Thank you for watching, and good night.